Hi, my name is Iga and you're watching Pixie and the Notes. Welcome in 2023. The first video of this year is going to be about my Holy Grail fragrances. So right off the bat, my understanding of Holy Grail fragrance is if you have a certain ingredient, let's say vanilla or vetiver, or a category like ambery scents, green scents, and you have a fragrance in that particular category that basically ticks all the boxes for you, and you don't feel like you want to search for something better because it does everything for you in that particular category. So this is my understanding of Holy Grail scents. So without further ado, let's jump right into the meat of the video. So when it comes to vanilla, I am a sucker for a good vanilla, and this is probably the most represented ingredient in my collection, and I have a lot of different vanillas, and I was always looking for something perfect. But my search had ended a year ago when this baby came out. This is Shalimar Millésime Vanilla Plentifolia. And oh my word, after I got this, I thought that, yeah, there is absolutely no possibility for anything to be better than this. And I feel that I will never buy another vanilla fragrance because nothing right now can top this. And I have really a lot of gorgeous, mind-blowing vanilla scents, but this one, this is a perfect, I don't know, it feels like it has some drugs in it that melt my brain, and I'm just speechless, totally speechless. It has this amazing perfect mix between slightly citrusy, a little, like a touch of leatheriness. It doesn't smell like the classic one, but it's definitely, the DNA is there. But there is something flickering and almost like sparkling in it, and it just that does something to my brain that I cannot explain. And seriously, I don't see any other vanillas being added to my collection after I got into acquisition of this one. So when it comes to violet perfumes, I also really like this ingredient, and usually I prefer it as an additional note. But to this date, a fragrance that is basically like a perfect Holy Grail fragrance with violet as the most predominant scent is She Would by D² 2. This is my second bottle. Unfortunately, it has been discontinued. I have one backup, so I'm pretty much good. But this is just heavenly. Violet here isn't too powdery because, yeah, violet can get quite powdery and almost overwhelming and too much. But here, violet is on the bed of woods, a little bit of greenness. So it basically smells like like violets somewhere in the woods, in green juicy grass, and it smells very natural, very transparent. There is nothing overwhelming and overpowering here. My Holy Grail, violet. When it comes to leather, again, I struggle with fragrances that are straightforward leather. And although I do like leather that smells a little bit like petrol, that is a little bit skanky, I do like it, but I find it quite difficult to pull off on a daily basis. My Holy Grail leather fragrance is probably no surprise, because this is very often mentioned as the best leather fragrance, and this is Bottega Veneta, the original one, Eau de Parfum. And I remember when I first tried it, I didn't know that was a leathery scent. But when I sniffed it in the store, I was mind blown. I was really surprised that a female scent, because this is marketed for women, can smell like this. This is quite a gentle leather with a little bit of fruitiness. So it has certain freshness to it. It doesn't have that petrol-like waxy quality. It's more like very delicate suede. It's an extremely classy, sophisticated perfume that is perfect for work environment, for business meetings. This is like a power woman. But saying power woman, I will say this is like a perfect unisex. It has a lot of masculine vibe about it as well. And I still haven't found anything that I would enjoy more, that would be more wearable leather-wise. So yeah, I consider Bottega Veneta as my Holy Grail leather. Vetiver. Again, vetiver is an ingredient that adds a lot of sensuality to perfumes, and a lot of fragrances that I own features vetiver. But my Holy Grail, pure vetiver gorgeousness is Timbuktu by L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is beautiful, dry vetiver combined with some papyrus, with a little bit of incense, and just a teeny touch of other resins and spices. This is a fragrance I reach for when I don't want to smell sweet, when I crave something dry and unsweetened. And this is a beautiful scent for warmer weather, but basically like an all year round choice. And yeah, I think this has a perfect balance of slightly dirty, dry sensuality and everyday freshness. Timbuktu, Holy Grail, vetiver. Rose. So recently I made a video about my favorite rose, and that was Bois Belize Intense by Nicolai. I have a lot of beautiful roses, and surprisingly, it's, apart from vanilla, it's probably an ingredient that is most often featured in my collection, which is surprising because I often considered myself as a person who doesn't like rosy fragrances. Bois Belize is a perfection, and if I had to pick only one rose scent, that would be it. And I feel like after finding this, I really don't want to search for anything else, because it basically does everything for me. This is like this fresh, dewy rose that is covered, this moist, refreshing and very rejuvenating, but at the same time it's combined with a little bit of mossiness, so it's very interesting, transparent, and it gives me surprisingly a lot of compliments. My Holy Grail Rose Wabelies. Incense. So the confession, I'm not a huge fan of incense in fragrances, and I don't own a single incense-scented fragrances because I feel they are not me. But Ivory Root by Xerjoff, it's the most beautiful incense that I can pull off and that I love. This is more often discussed as a vanilla and spicy fragrance, and yeah, I agree, but it has the most beautiful incense touch that I have ever encountered in fragrances, and this is just the right amount that is just tickling my brain and is just perfect. So owning Ivory Root, I feel like I don't have to look for any other incense fragrance. Boozy. So usually I have a problem with boozy fragrances because fragrances that are described as boozy, I don't find boozy at all. But I have found a few, but among them, my absolute holy grail is Elborn by Carne Barcelona. This smells like Baileys with ice cream and dried fruit. It's absolutely delicious without being a straight up gourmand. And I would say that also Elborn would be not only my Holy Grail boozy fragrance, but it's probably my favorite gourmandy fragrance. So yeah, Elborn. Citrus. Usually I'm not a big fan of citrusy scents because I have a problem with them that I find them usually quite boring. My favorite Holy Grail citrus is Indian Garnet by Bulgari. And unfortunately, I heard that this one is discontinued, which is just amazing. This is my second bottle. And I don't know if I will be able to get it. Maybe I will have to find a replacement, which will be really difficult because this citrus is combined with this beautiful, beautiful woodiness and this golden ambery warm touch. So this citrus is refreshing, but it's not like a zesty, zingy punch of citrus. This is basically like mandarin, so it's quite a little bit sweet, on the sweeter side, with beautiful saffron, woods, amber and other resins. So it's fresh and warm at the same time, which is everything that I want in my citrus fragrance. I love it. My Holy Grail citrus fragrance. Cherry. So cherry seems to be the most hyped ingredient right now, and I must say I love cherry in fragrances. However, usually it smells a little bit almondy, and I like this kind of cherry, but very often it smells very artificial and very sweet, which I have a problem with. But I have found my holy grail cherry fragrance, and that is Velvet Cherry by Miller Harris. And here, this is not a shy cherry. This is very potent and pretty loud. Here, cherry is combined with a little bit of dirty ingredients, a little bit of ambergris, and some, I think there is some vetiver or something like that. But basically it has this very potent fruity punch with some underlying piercing quality that makes it very intriguing and interesting. And owning this, I really don't feel like I have to look for anything else. Amber. So when it comes to amber, I don't own a lot of amber scents, and the thing with amber scents is that I recently realized that labdanum, which is part of the amber accord, doesn't smell very good on my skin. It turns quite bitter, and it tends to sit on my skin in a very flat, lifeless way. But with Ambre Cashmere from Nicolai Parfums, I have found my holy grail, amber. And here we don't have this anything bitter. It just has this beautiful warmth. It feels like warm sun on your face on a brisk day. It is like warm sunshine. It has a little bit of freshness due to sweet citrus. There is some violet, there are some resins. This is quite a rich fragrance. It's pretty bold. I don't think it might be an acquired taste, but it does what an amber scent should do. So it gives you warmth, but in my case, it's devoid of that unpleasant bitterness that I get from other amber scents. So yeah, Ambre Cashmere, my holy grail, amber. Woody. So again, I don't think I own a single proper woody scent, because I usually find them quite boring, especially those wood-centered ones. For some reason they don't excite me that much, but this might be surprising because yeah, this is Molecule 01 by Eccentric Molecules. And of course this is not, it doesn't contain any real oud, it doesn't have any cedar or anything. This is basically just pure synthetic ISO-E super molecule, but it has the most addicting woody quality. And whenever I feel like I want something that smells woody, transparent, translucent and spacious, I reach for this. But I will say I'm a little bit on the hunt. Maybe I will find another holy grail woodsy fragrance, but for now this is it. And it also fills the category of the best holy grail fragrance that I reach for when I want to have something on, some scent on, but I don't want to smell like perfume. And it's also a holy grail layering piece, because whenever you want to add this woody molecular quality to any fragrance, just layer it with a molecule or one and it's gonna be perfect. Tobacco. So again, I struggle with most tobacco scented scents because I find them a little bit overwhelming. Usually they are paired with honey and other ingredients that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I don't own a full bottle of, I have a decant. This is Tobacco by Frank Bouclet. And this tobacco is completely different to anything else that I've ever smelled, because this is like, it smells like still wet, fresh tobacco leaves. And it has this beautiful plum note. So overall, and it has just a little bit of smokiness, but the most prominent quality is this dampness and fruitiness. This is a very joyful, easy to wear tobacco for me. So yeah. Currently, I'm not looking for any other tobacco scented fragrances owning this. Green. I love a good green scent, and I made a video about my favorite, the best green scents. But to this day, my holy grail green fragrance is Herbe by L'Occitane. It basically ticks all the boxes for me because it's fresh, it's juicy, but it also has something quite unique about this. It's not just a fruity green scent, it has something very intriguing and captivating. It basically does everything to me, and yeah, I consider it like a perfect holy grail green scent. Musky powdery. So I don't own any musky powdery scent because although I do find them pleasant, I also don't find them exciting enough to be added to my collection, if that makes sense. But recently I have found a scent that is my holy grail musky, powdery gorgeousness. I don't own a bottle yet. This is Rose Cherie by Guerlain. And oh my god, is it beautiful. It is like the mix of this beautiful rose, violet, fruity combo on this base of almost bodily like fluffy, soft, powdery musk. It smells very innocent. It smells like tender love. The fruitiness here, the fruit that is featured in this fragrance is raspberry, but because it's slightly almost almondy, the fruitiness with almondiness to my brain is interpreted as cherry. This beautiful rose, candied violet. So everything that I love. It's just divine, and yeah, this is my holy grail musky powdery scent. Plum. I love a good plum, and as I mentioned, Tobacco by Bouclet Could be, although could be a Holy Grail plum, although it's more about tobacco. But I also found Amber Kanjar by Renewing Nomad, and this has become my Holy Grail plum. In fact, it's more like a prune, because this plum smells is smoky. It's pretty dense and like fleshy. It's served with beautiful resins. I don't consider this, despite the name, I don't consider it as an ambery scent though. It's just a beautiful mix of plum with gorgeous resins. It's just an ultimate autumn and winter scent for me. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know what your Holy Grail fragrances are, and see you next time.